Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and this is Juno. And we recently got a lot of snow around here. Usually in winter we don't really get any snow, and if we do get any snow, it's kind of a miracle and it just melts right away. But recently we got quite a lot of snow. It was very surprising and actually very nice, at least if you didn't have to go anywhere by car. That kind of inspired me to make a little Instagram reel about magical applications of snow, because I really never thought about it, because again, it usually doesn't really snow around here. But since it finally did snow, and actually quite a lot, I was really thinking about what I could do with the snow, how I could use it magically. And yeah, I thought today, since we are still in the middle of winter, I'm hoping that some of you still have snow where you're living, I thought I could make a long form video on the topic. I think it's always nicer to actually talk a little bit more about those kinds of things instead of making a reel that is a couple of seconds long and then elaborating in the caption that usually nobody really reads. Oh, also a little disclaimer, none of these ideas are taken from any specific traditions. These are really just ideas that I came up with by observing what snow does, how snow behaves, what snow is, and then thinking about how that could be applied to magic. So this is really just my own sympathetic magic ideas for snow, and I will take you through how I came up with them also, so that you could basically apply the same technique to other phenomena, not just snow. So let's go! Alright, so what I always think about first is, what is the thing I want to use in magic and how does it behave? I just try to observe and learn about that thing or that plant or that phenomenon, that weather, whatever. About snow, I kind of came up with 4 things. First of all, of course, snow is frozen water. It is not liquid anymore. It doesn't move as much as water does. Of course, everything moves, everything vibrates, so nothing is entirely still. So it's not like the atoms and molecules in snow don't move at all, but so little that we can't observe it with the naked eye. If we just look at snow, it seems like it doesn't move and it's solid. That is, of course, the first thing. Secondly, snow hides everything underneath it. If it snows, of course, you have a big white blanket of snow, and anything underneath you can't see anymore, so it hides things. And then also, snow can be formed. That's why you can make igloos with it, or you can make snowmen with it. Snow can be formed in a specific capacity. Until, and that is the 4th thing, of course, snow melts when it gets warmer. It's taken up by the earth, so it dissolves. It seems like it's disappearing. So those 4 things are the things that I came up with. Of course, if you have more ideas than those, then you can come up with your own ideas. But that was just what I came up with by mind mapping basically what snow does or how it behaves. And what I then do afterwards is that I think about how this could be applied magically. Because if we apply the rule as above, so below, anything that happens physically can also be used energetically. So that's basically what sympathetic magic is about. I just go through all of the things that I observed about the specific thing, in this case snow, and I think about how can this be applied to magic. For example, if we look at snow being frozen water, so the movement of the water being, or the water molecules being very, very, very restricted, so much that it looks to us like it's not moving anymore. So that means we can of course use it to freeze something else or someone else. We could, for example, use it to bind people. If someone is doing something that you don't agree with, or someone tries to hurt you or someone else, or there is really any situation in which you need to freeze someone or keep someone from continuing to do something, then you could freeze them. So for example, you could either make a puppet, bind them to the puppet, or you could simply use a tag lock, a little bit of their hair, a little bit of their saliva, their blood, put whatever you use into some snow, bury it in the snow, and then put it in the freezer. Of course, a specific freezer spell is very, very popular. You could technically do it without the snow. I just kind of think that the snow adds a little bit of oomph to it. And also, of course, if you only want to do it for a short while, you can also just do it outside in the snow. Once the water melts and is taken back into the earth, then the situation will go back to normal. So these kinds of freezing spells they are never permanent. This is technically a temporary binding. Also, yes, you can technically do that with just water as well. You could just put water in a pot, put the person or the tag lock or whatever into the water and then put it in the freezer. I kind of feel like, and this is just my intuitive thinking here, I kind of feel like doing it with water is a little bit more harsh than with snow, because snow is kind of soft if you touch it. So I kind of feel like it's also magically a little bit of a softer situation than if you use ice. But again, that is just my personal intuitive thought about it. And then next up, if we look at how snow hides everything underneath it, you can use it, for example, for invisibility spells. So you could use the snow, for example, to make an invisibility talisman, or you could conceal the truth with it. But yeah, those two applications would be the ones that I'm instantly thinking of. So for example, if you're making an invisibility talisman, you could, for example, charge it outside in the snow directly, or you can use snow water. I think using snow directly would be more effective, but you can of course also use the snow water. And you can either, for example, put it outside and charge it outside in the snow, or you could take a bowl of snow, take it inside and then use it that. But you would have to do it very fast so that it doesn't melt down to water again. And yeah, the same applies to other things. If you would make like a little tea, for example, for invisibility, I think you could also add a little bit of snow to it that of course melts, or you could directly add snow water. What I could also see working is, for example, using snow or snow water and then drawing invisibility sigils or runes or whatever you want to use on your body with it. So there are a million different applications. Next up, of course, as I said, snow melts so that it becomes water again, liquid water, and then it is taken back by the earth. So for us, as mere humans, it kind of looks like it disappears. By using it that way, we can make things disappear. So not necessarily just making them invisible, but literally making them disappear. So I could see that working with, for example, a banishing spell if you want to banish a person or something from your life. So this would be kind of a more permanent situation than the freezer spell, for example. Something very, very easy you can do is, that was also one of the ideas for the reel, was to literally write the things that you want to let go of, or a sigil for that, or a bind rune or whatever, writing that into the snow, charging that, and then literally just letting nature do its thing, wait until it gets warmer, it melts, and it is taken back into the earth. Of course, if you prefer a little bit of a faster approach than that, then of course you can also just take snow inside, do the same thing, and then melt the snow, for example, over a candle or something. You could use also the invisibility hiding things aspect in a reverse manner. Of course, if something is hidden under the snow and it melts, then it becomes visible again. So you could also do that. You could take snow inside, put something into the snow, and then let it melt, or melt it with fire, with a candle or something, so that the thing that is under the snow becomes visible again. You could do that to reveal truths. So you can really either hide things, make things disappear, or reveal them. So snow is kind of really versatile. I like that. Okay, and then lastly, I said snow can be formed. So snow can be brought into a specific physical form. So it can, for example, be made into a snowman. So what else would a snowman be than a puppet? So I think you could actually, and I haven't tried it, but I would love to. The snow sadly is gone by now, but I would love to try that, to make a puppet from snow. I think that would be very, very interesting. For example, just like you would make a snowman, that you can also make a puppet from it. And you could technically make it as a snowman, but I would guess that you can also make a more human looking puppet from it. And then of course, what you would do with any other puppet, add a tag lock or like a little slip of paper, sprinkle the puppet with water to give it a name, whatever you really want to do to bind it to the person. And then you could either hide it in the freezer to, again, do a little bit of a freezer spell, or you could also, if you want to banish a person, you could again use the ability to melt. You could kind of combine that with making a snow puppet. I feel like there are a lot of different ways in which you could use this that are very, 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 very interesting, because other kinds of puppets don't do that. You can't really dissolve most other puppets, so I think that is very, very interesting. A little bit of a more baneful situation, I think, could also be to use this snow puppet and then either throw it into a fire or to melt it over a candle, or to pour hot water over it so that it dissolves. I kind of feel like that would be a very nice, more baneful banishing. And what I also really like about this idea of making a snow puppet is that you don't have to think about how to take the puppet apart again in the end. So if you need a temporary puppet that you don't use over a long time, then since you can just let it dissolve because it melts, you don't really have to think about how to take it apart again. Usually when I make a puppet, for example, I make one from fabric, I sew it, I would do everything reversed. So I would open the puppet again, take all the filling out, and then reverse, kind of rip apart the seam and whatever. But that's a lot of work. And if you just make a snow puppet, you can just let it dissolve. You can just let it melt. So I kind of really like that. But of course, this is a very temporary puppet situation. So it won't hold up for a long time. You just have to think about how to use that in a way that works for you. And yeah, with that being said, those were my more spontaneous ideas on snow magic. If you have further ideas, please put them in the comments. Again, I haven't really thought of snow and magic a lot since we don't usually have snow around here, but now I'm kind of hyped about it. And yeah, without further ado, I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up, hype the video, and ring the bell down below so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video. If you want to keep up with more of my private shenanigans and also reels like the snow reel and anything like that, then check out my Instagram. And if you want to support this channel, then make sure to check out my Patreon or my YouTube membership. And I will see you in another video. Bye!